Hello everyone, my name is First Fractal and today I'll be explaining to you the Boss Adrenaline mod, which is a mod that gives every single boss temporarily cocaine. And if you haven't seen the playthrough for that video, then it's going to be right here in the top right corner. But let's just get straight into it. First thing we're going to look at is the Boss Adrenaline system. And what this file does is that it has the counter to be like, okay, it's the time to activate the adrenaline, activate it. If not, then deactivate it. So first, it has a flag to see if adrenaline is activated. And then it has the counter, which counts for how long it counts until it's time to activate it. And then the max for how long the counter should go is based off the config option. And then also checks that if it's a boss alive, because after all, there's no point giving a boss adrenaline if there is no boss alive. And then also this is just list here for every single piece of the boss to also give them adrenaline. Because like you don't want the head of the Eater World to go super fast, but then his body is still way behind. And then we just have this function right here called talk. What this function basically does is that it like talks in the chat to say adrenaline has been enabled, adrenaline has been disabled. If what it does first is check to see if you're a single player, then use this method to send in single player chat. If not, then use this method to send the message in multiplayer chat. Then we have this toggle adrenaline function, which is going to be the function that I use to toggle the adrenaline. So first it checks to see, alright, is adrenaline enabled? Alright, then set the counter to be the duration. If it's not enabled, then just set it to be the cooldown for how long it will be without it. And then first is it sets the flag to the boss false. And then after that, it's gonna be like, alright, here's a list of every single NPC that's currently in the game. Look through all of them. If the current NPC I'm looking at is a boss and it's alive, then that means there's a boss alive. And that's the same thing for the boss parts. Then it checks to see if there is a boss. Which in that case, it will first check to see, alright, hey, is the counter exceeded the maximum of the counter? If so, then like it first check, alright, is the adrenaline false? If it's false, then say adrenaline's been enabled and enable the adrenaline. Then reset the counter. And then does the opposite for if adrenaline is already enabled. Then reset the counter. Then after that, it counts by 1. What this counter does is that it counts every single frame until like it hits 60 frames, and then once it hits 60 frames, and since the 60 frames to 1 second, because that's what most people play at, then it just sets the counter by 1. Now there's definitely 100% a better way of doing this, but I was a fucking dumbass when I made this, okay? And then, oh hey, there's no boss alive, then reset all these stats, because you don't want a boss to spawn in and you already have halfway adrenaline enabled. And then this one is this right here will inject this entire toggle adrenaline function that we just looked at right into the post update world. So every time the world has been updated, like the game runs over and check the world to be like checking to see like it's time to spread the tiles, is it like time to move the time, and all that kinds of stuff. It's after that it's gonna check, hey, should we enable the adrenaline? Which it does right here. Then we're gonna look in the global mod boss. All this code that we're about to look at, it runs inside every single NPC that's currently in the game. So first it checks, alright, before the boss does any of its AI stuff, we're gonna give it adrenaline first. So what this does right here is that it goes over to the adrenaline system and it grabs the adrenaline variable and the boss part variable. So then like, you know, alright, should we enable adrenaline, and which body parts should we enable as well? And then after that, it checks, okay, is it time to enable adrenaline? If so, first check what the current NPC I'm looking at is a boss and is alive. Then enable the boss and enable the speedy time. And then that's the same thing for the boss parts right here. So after that, it checks to see if there is a boss. Then after that, it checks to see, does the player want the boss to not be able to despawn? Because the thing is, sometimes these bosses move so fast that they can go fly out of the screen and despawn. And then if it checks to see like, alright, so we disable the ability for bosses to despawn. So then after that, check to see, alright, get the list of all the players that's currently in the game. Then look through all the players to see if someone's alive. If someone's alive, then disable the ability for boss to despawn. However, if everyone's currently dead, then allow the boss to despawn so then they can't just cheese the boss. Then after that, check to see if someone's alive. And then first it checks to see, alright, is the current player that we're looking at too far away from the boss? Because if so, then don't despawn that NPC. However, if that NPC is fucking Skeletron, then his distance has to be further away, because I don't know, okay, it's some black magic that Red did to the code, which still doesn't fucking work, because when I try to fight Skeletron in my playthrough, that fucker keep despawning with adrenaline. No, don't give yourself PTS. You're not supposed to give yourself PTS here. You're just supposed to explain how things work. Then this one does the same thing as the first part, but it checks to see if it's currently daytime, because if it is daytime, then despawn the nighttime only bosses, because they're not supposed to be alive during daytime. And now here we get to the juicy part with the speed. First it checks to see, alright, is adrenaline activated? Then if it is, it calculates the future position of the NPC. But what it does is that it grabs the current position of the NPC, and then it adds the NPC velocity times the adrenaline multiplier. And then first it checks to see if the boss moves horizontally, because like the boss like Lunatic Cultist, Empress of Light, for some reason, I don't know what Red put into the AI of them, probably some special type of cocaine, but because the way that they move, they can just move extremely fast for horizontal, and then which will cause them to be just be able to just despawn, because they move all the way to the other side of the game. So basically what this section does here is check to see, hey, is the current boss Empress of Light or Lunatic Cultist and alive? If so, then make sure that those bosses cannot move more than 2,000 pixels. I don't know what the unit is in Terraria, but it's 2,000 something. And don't allow them to go that far away, which this does basically clamp them to stay inside that radius. Then after that, it gets the future position and divides them both by 16 to keep the unit consistent, while also making sure that the center is actually at the bottom of the NPC and not at the very top. Because for that, the next part right here, this is the tile collision checking to check to see like, hey, if this is a ground boss like King Slime or Golem, then don't allow them to go through the tiles, because that will fuck up the collision. Then after that, this section right here will just basically try to sync the the new position of the boss in the multiplayer server, so that way you don't have like one boss on the player 1 screen, it's at the left, while the boss on the player's 2 screen is on the right. Alright, next I gotta explain is the adrenaline bar. And if you've seen the video for the boss flamethrower, then this is the exact same code. The only difference I made is I changed the texture for the bar and changed the text for to be boss adrenaline bar. And for the sake of time, and not me explaining to the mirror as the same shit I said before, I'm just gonna not explain all this. If you want to know how it works, then just watch the video. It's the exact same thing. And finally, we have the boss config to explain. Now for all the mods that are in Team Mod Loader, the structure is going to be generally about the same. They're just going to change depending on what mod you have, and then like what subgroups they have inside those mods. But just to quickly go over this, the general config only applies to stuff on the server side, and it sets the adrenaline it tells them about the adrenaline cooldown, the adrenaline duration, the adrenaline multiplier, so the boss have the ability to disable despawning, and the horizontal boss move fix. And then for the GUI side, that's going to be on the client side only. It will just be like, should the bar be displayed, and where to move the X and the Y axis. And then also there is the English localization file, which just basically translate all of this gibberish of right here into English text. So like for example, GUI option, this is the text that's going to explain instead of this. Also, since I opened up this spot configs, Visual Studio is currently yelling me for a whole bunch of errors in here, because initially this model was made for 1.4.3, and the way for that the config option worked between 1.4.3 and 1.4.4 slightly changed, where you don't really need to like specifically say the label and the tooltips. The Team Mod Loader will do it automatically, so it's yelling me to delete this since it's redundant. But you know what? Screw you, Team Mod Loader. I'm gonna do things my way. And I'm also gonna end the video right here, because this is literally just about everything that it's in this mod. If you find this interesting, like, subscribe, ring the bell, all that yada other bullshit YouTube thing. Other than that, see ya.